Wall Street winners. It is Sunday, April 20th, Easter Sunday for those that practice a religion where that is a part of it. And for other cannabis lovers, 420. So we should get at least one tweet from Elon today about that. But what I wanted to talk about today is the week ahead. So we've got a lot of earnings coming in the week of April 21st to April 25th. And if we turn our attention first to the Bloomberg app, the one thing that's a little bit concerning to me is when we see senior executives or CEOs at some of the largest organizations start to sell their shares. It can be a bit of a concern. Now, not always. I mean, these people obviously make decent salaries usually, but they also have stock incentives as part of their compensation plan. And from time to time, in order to finance their living expenses, they need to sell some of the stocks that they own or are granted as part of a share purchase plan or a share allocation plan. So they could be restricted stock units, RSUs, they could be stock options, they could be a variety of different things, but they're typically grants of shares. So as you accumulate those over time and they come into the money and they're worth something, often to rebalance your portfolio because maybe you own a significant percentage of your assets are in the company you work for, you want to diversify a little bit. So it's not unusual to sell that. But as we start to see stocks erode or drop in price, and then we start to hear about folks selling them. I mean, those people have very good visibility into the direction those companies are headed. And if they're confident in the direction, they're often buying more shares, knowing that the value of those shares will increase. But when you see them selling, it can be, again, not always, but it can be a sign that they don't believe the share value will continue to rise. It could continue actually to fall, and they're trying to get out and maintain some of the profit that they have in those stocks. So we're seeing both Mark Zuckerberg and Jamie Dimon, Zuckerberg obviously of Meta and Facebook, and Dimon of JP Morgan, selling some shares. So thinking about that, it might cause you to consider offloading some of the shares in those companies as well. Now we've heard from JP Morgan already, and they had some amazing results this quarter. And I would anticipate going into next quarter, they will be pretty amazing as well, because the tariffs, if they're re-implemented, won't really come into effect until the July timeframe around Independence Day. Um, but when we hear about Zuckerberg, who Meta hasn't announced yet, it's coming up not this week, but the following week, it does raise a few eyebrows there. So that's one thing to consider. There's a ton of other stuff going on. I'm not going to get into all of that. But what I want to do is just run through quickly the stocks that are announcing this week that you should at least be aware of and have on your radar. Right now, as we're sitting at Sunday and futures really haven't opened for the evening going into tomorrow, they're pretty flat right now. But if we take a look down at the bottom of the Bloomberg in the stocks that we follow, if we go to the events calendar, you'll see that we heard from Netflix on Thursday. Now, the markets were closed Friday, so it'll be interesting to see how far Netflix pops or spikes come Monday because it took off after market on Friday. You can see the earnings beat there was pretty solid. And we'll have to see what the stock is going to do. It was up 30 or so dollars on after market close on Thursday afternoon. So if we get into Monday, the 21st, in the morning pre-market, we've got Zion's Bank out of Utah. We'll see what they come in with. A regional bank, not a huge trading arm there. So they're not going to have the trading revenue that we've seen from the likes of, say, Goldman or JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Citi, some of the others. So it'll be interesting to see what we're starting to hear out of the regionals. Then we have what I'm calling Tesla Tuesday. So before the market, we have Halliburton, the oil company, and crude oil futures have been in the tank, no pun intended, and have not been doing well. Crude started to come back a little bit last week, but it's not even uh, close to the $70 a barrel level. So I think across the board in oil, we're going to see some lower than expected earnings, and that could cause those stocks to tumble further. And they're already almost near 52-week lows in many cases. But then in the afternoon, we've got Tesla, and I am expecting Tesla to miss on earnings and revenue this quarter, just with everything that's going on around Tesla, with deliveries being down, sales incentives being up, Elon not really focusing on the company very much, if at all, right now. And rumors being that Elon's not coming back to Tesla full time. He's going to focus his energy and interests on XAI more than Tesla and some of his other entities. So it'll be interesting to hear if he's even on the earnings call, for one, and if he is, what the narrative is there and what the future forecast looks like, because it looks pretty bleak, especially with car and automotive tariffs and parts tariffs, even though Teslas, for the most part, are made in the US that are sold in the US. They still have raw materials they're bringing in, likely from outside the US, semiconductor chips that they're probably not having all manufactured in the US. And with the tariffs and increase in costs, it's going to lead potentially either to an increase in prices or to a decrease in profits. And we've also seen the Trump administration cut um, the call it green savings rebate that you get on EVs. So they've eliminated that reduction to consumers, which has helped to reduce the cost of electric vehicles. And Tesla, obviously, being the largest EV maker there in the US. So I expect Tesla to go down. Now, the two things that could cause it to have a pop are an unexpected pop in sales. So maybe with tariffs coming, a bunch of consumers ran out and bought Teslas ahead of tariffs, hoping to achieve a level of savings. So there could be a sales spike due to that. I'm not confident that that's the case, but that is one reason. And the other could be that Musk announces he's coming back full time to Tesla, and that sends the stock up. The third, which is a longer shot because we haven't heard anything about this, is some big announcement about success in self-driving cars. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Then we've got Wednesday. So Wednesday, we have IBM announcing. We've got who else is announcing Wednesday? We've got Lam Research announcing. We've got Bank of California, another regional bank, Texas Instruments, which recently got hit pretty hard from a stock price perspective when China said they were going to implement tariffs on any semiconductors manufactured in the US, of which Texas Instruments does have manufacturing in the US. And then Raymond James. Now, with Raymond James, I'm expecting a pop on Raymond James because Raymond James is very similar in its business structure to Charles Schwab. So I think, and it has a trading arm, I think Raymond James is going to pop and do well. I'm on the fence about Lam Research. TSMC came out and had record results. ASML came out not so good. I think Lam Research, because they were strong in Q1, I think they're going to be strong in Q2 as well. I'm leery about Bank of California, so I'm staying away from that, especially with the wildfires there. Um, Texas Instruments, I'm on the fence on. I wouldn't be putting money into that. I think IBM could have a strong quarter as well. But again, I'm a little reluctant. If there was two that I had to pick out of the Wednesday list, I would be putting money into and betting on a bump in Raymond James Financial and Lam Research. Then we get into Thursday. Now, Google has been hit hard with the AI decline. Even though it's making significant investments, it has extremely strong revenue and cash flow, has a ton of cash in the bank to leverage on purchases, as we saw with the Wiz acquisition announcement recently. And it's looking at AI initiatives to ramp up its YouTube division. So what it's looking at doing there is there's a lot of YouTube channels that are that have creators releasing in one language. So my channel here obviously released in English. But what YouTube is looking to do is dub the voices of creators like myself and allow it to look like I'm speaking French or Arabic or Chinese or whatever the language is to cater to those audiences instead of reading subtitles. So that transition and implementation, which should come fairly quickly and in the near term, could really be a boost to Google and Google's bottom line. YouTube is the second biggest search engine online. And the likes of the AI engines like ChatGPT and many others, although they provide amazing results to your search, they're still not heavily utilized. A lot of people still default to Google. And until we start to see that change, I think Google's still a pretty strong bet right now. Now, they do have an antitrust lawsuit going on in the US, and Meta does as well. And the results of Meta's will potentially impact what happens with Google. But at the same time, you never know what could come out of the White House. So, enough favoritism and ring kissing to the new president could get him to put his foot down and have those charges dismissed. So, anything's possible these days. You know, you can buy a tariff exemption. So, really, everything is up for sale. Golden Visa, anything else is up for sale in the White House right now. And then we've got Valero out before the market opens on Thursday. I'm not banking on this one. I love Valero as a company, but right now that sector is just in the doghouse, and I'm staying away from oil right now until we start to see a little bit of light at the end of that tunnel. And then speaking of oil, Friday morning we've got Bloomberger SLB. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. I struggle with that one, but I don't think SLB's earnings are going to be fantastic either. And then HCA, so Healthcare of America. Um, Came out, sorry, not Healthcare of America, United Healthcare came out last week and got demolished. The first earnings miss in a number of quarters, like multiple years they haven't missed. I think maybe 8 years they've not missed a quarter, and they missed a big. And that stock went down 20%. So it'll be interesting to hear what comes out of HCA on Friday before market open as well. So that's the week ahead. Good luck in your trades. And if you're liking these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button.